Todd Blanche, Trump's former criminal defense attorney, is before the Senate Judiciary Committee seeking confirmation as Attorney General. Senator Adam Schiff has arrived with a specific document, a Justice Department settlement signed by Blanche and no IRS official that releases Donald Trump and his family from IRS claims. Schiff's opening question goes straight to accountability, and Blanche's answer immediately raises more questions than it settles.
Todd Blanche is up for confirmation as Attorney General tomorrow, and there are a lot of reasons to oppose him. Here's one of them. Did you write this language?
Did I type it up myself?
Did you write this language?
No.
Well, you put your name to it.
I did.
So that's Todd Blanche pretending that my question was whether he actually typed up this bogus IRS settlement. Of course, that's not my question, and he knows it, but you can see from the very beginning this is Todd Blanche trying to deflect, as if I was asking him whether he sat at a typewriter personally. So I pressed him further. So who wrote this?
I don't know the person that actually typed it. I don't know who it is.
Was it one of the president's lawyers, or was it someone from the Justice Department or IRS?
This document would have been somebody within the Department of Justice.
Well, you have no idea who that is.
I don't know the name of the person that typed it up.
So there he is admitting that he doesn't even know who wrote this settlement, this IRS provision that he alone signed. It wasn't signed by any IRS official. So let's dive into this incredible tax giveaway to Donald Trump, signed for by his former criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, which reveals just what a sycophant Blanche is, just how devoted he is not to the country, not to the interests of the even enforcement of the law, not to the rule of law, but to the personal wealth, the personal whims of Donald Trump.
I love you, sir.
So this settlement agreement releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs, that is, Trump and his kids, from ever facing, forever, barred and precluded from the IRS prosecuting or pursuing any claims against them, causes of action, appeals, requests for relief of any kind, monetary relief, damages, blah, 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 as of the effective date of this settlement agreement, which was in May of this year. And it applies to any of the plaintiffs, any related or affiliated individuals, including family and others filing jointly, or parties, including trusts, parent, sister, related companies, affiliates, subsidiaries. It also goes to any case or pending claims by the IRS, any lawfare or weaponization. Who knows what the hell that means? He couldn't even explain it during the hearing. Or any matters currently pending.
The IRS settlement carries an effective date that Schiff argues changes everything. Any tax filing submitted before the agreement was signed in May falls under its protection, which includes the standard April 15 deadline. That means Trump, his organizations, affiliates, and family members who filed on time could be shielded from any audit or examination. Watch now as Blanche struggles to explain the timeline of an agreement that he, and only he, signed.
Agreement. A tax return filed in this calendar year before this agreement.
Before the agreement, it applies, not after.
Okay. Now, I don't know whether he's being duplicitous here or deceptive or dishonest or simply clueless, but the agreement provides that any tax filings prior to the signing of that settlement document in the middle of May would be covered, which means if Trump or his organizations or their affiliates or his family filed their tax returns on time, that is on April 15th of this year, to cover all that money, all that business from last year, it would be protected by this IRS settlement agreement, meaning no audits or examinations or any of that stuff. Now, I asked Blanche about this, and interestingly, in Blanche's written answers, he took issue with the use of the word audit, saying that audits aren't even mentioned in that settlement document. But of course, examinations are mentioned in the settlement document and are pretty much indistinguishable from an audit. Indeed, during Blanche's own testimony, what did he refer to? Audits. Here's Blanche talking about audits.
First of all, does this purport to release parties or people who were not parties to the lawsuit?
No, Senator.
Well, it says here that claims asserted by defendants or any of the plaintiffs or related or affiliated individuals, including without limitation, family or others filing jointly, or parties including trusts, parent, sister, or related companies, affiliates, or subsidiaries. They weren't a party to the lawsuit, were they?
I didn't hear everything you just said, Senator, but the only parties that were that had any release as respect to any potential audits, even if they existed, were the plaintiffs in the lawsuit.
Do you remember Donald Trump's 30-something convictions, felony convictions for the hush money payments to a porn star, Stormy Daniels? Well, that was a business fraud scheme that was in part about evading taxes. I asked Blanche about that too. Does that mean that this would be covered, that any tax liability from that fraudulent hush money payment scheme Trump would be off the hook for?
In the past, the president was convicted in the case you represented him in of falsifying business records in part for tax purposes. Does this settlement not absolve the president of any liability for tax crimes associated with what he's already been convicted of?
And this was Blanche's answer.
That's not what he was convicted of. Not having to do with
Well,
for tax purposes.
I'm happy to read the statement of facts. The participants took steps that mischaracterized for tax purposes the true nature of the payments made in furtherance of the scheme.
Now, Blanche represented him in that litigation, in that hush money case.
The IRS deal is not the only ethics question before this committee. Blanche has already acknowledged he was advised by ethics lawyers to recuse himself from any matter involving his former client, Donald Trump. But weeks before this hearing at CPAC, Blanche stood before an applauding crowd and boasted that over 200 Justice Department employees, specifically everyone connected to the prosecution of Trump, had been fired, retired early, or forced out.
Participate in any case in which Donald Trump, his former client, was involved, or his representation of Donald Trump was involved. And here it would be an admission against his own interest to say, yes, he signed a statement relieving Donald Trump of tax liability over a case that he himself had handled for Donald Trump. But the falsehoods around his ethics and his recusals go well beyond the tax agreement. Because I asked him about these comments before CPAC, this very conservative Republican convention.
How many have been canned?
Over 200. Over 200 either left before we came in because they knew it was coming, or were fired, or took early retirement. They are no longer employed by this department. And when it comes to the FBI, which takes a lot of criticism, especially because of what happened over the past several years, Director Patel has cleaned house there too. There isn't a single man or woman with a gun, federal agent, still in that organization that had anything to do with the prosecution of President Trump.
So there he is taking credit for the firing of all these people that had something to do with the Mar-a-Lago investigation of classified documents or the January 6th investigation of the president. But when I asked him about it, he tried to distance himself from those remarks.
Okay.
There's a
You
statement I gave
were
at CPAC.
bragging about this at CPAC, the firing of these prosecutors, the firing of the FBI agents, the getting rid of everyone who investigated your client. You were proud of that, speaking for the Department of Justice, but you don't think that's a conflict of interest.
But here's the thing. We subsequently had testimony in a shadow hearing of someone who worked on Special Counsel Jack Smith's team, who was one of the public affairs officers that is, he was a spokesman for the case against the president. And guess what? His firing was signed by Todd Blanche.
But he fired you, right?
He signed my termination notice, yes.
He signed your termination notice.
So what will it take to defeat this nomination of someone who would put his name on such a sham document, and someone who has been referred to a bar association because of his lack of ethics, someone who has involved himself in matters that he's supposed to be recused from, someone who's engaged in using the Department of Justice to go after his enemies?
Todd Blanche's confirmation vote is scheduled for tomorrow. Today's hearing has placed two questions on the record. whether an attorney general can sign legal relief for his own former client, and whether purging everyone who prosecuted that client is a conflict of interest. The Senate will now decide. This is the D.C. brief.